Hello and welcome to a new edition of Planet Waves TV. I'm recording on Monday, January 11th, 2021. Most of you will see this starting on the 12th because I'm starting a little bit late in the day. I don't have much light left, so I will make this as brief as possible. It's been a while since I was with you. In that time, I have recorded the Planet Waves 2021 audio reading called All of Us Here. That is a rather beautiful work of 90 minutes of astrology per sun sign and rising sign, and you can find out more about that right on the front page of planetwaves.net. I'm also the host of Planet Waves FM, which publishes every Friday night on planetwaves.net. And before I get underway talking about the new moon in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, I would like to announce that there will be a live version of Planet Waves TV held on Zoom. If you would like to get an invitation to that, just drop a note to cs@planetwaves.net. Again, cs@planetwaves.net, and we'll get back to you with the link and the password. Please put live edition of Planet Waves TV in the subject header so we know what to do with your request. Again, cs@planetwaves.net. That reaches most of us in the company. All right. So the new moon in the sign Capricorn takes place a little bit past midnight. That is to say about like 12:01 or 2 or something a.m. on Wednesday, and that is in Eastern Standard Time. And this is a rather unusual new moon, first of all, because it is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. So this conjunction to Pluto in Capricorn rather intensifies things and brings in all of this Plutonian energy, which in modern astrology we think of as soulful, and in older forms of astrology might have been thought of as deep and potentially destructive. And anyway, this is the new moon that we get. And this is interesting because it is a reminder, kind of a revival of this Capricorn era that we somewhat left behind with the ingress of Jupiter and Saturn into Aquarius, which happened in mid-December, almost 1 month ago. It's been almost a month since I've been here with you. And so that took place and took great emphasis off of the sign Capricorn, which had been under a lot of transits, particularly starting in late 2017 when Saturn entered Capricorn, joining Pluto in Capricorn, and then all through 2020, Jupiter was in Capricorn as well. So there's a lot of that Capricorn energy, and we saw that in what appears to be the attempt at a total takeover of our lives, down to the most granular details of where and how and with whom we hold holiday dinners. We are seeing the most shadowy, nefarious aspect of Capricorn, in the collective archetypal sense of Capricorn, coming out in this essentially global fascist movement, which is being disguised as a virus. It's amazing how you can hide all that behind a thing that nobody has a sample of and that there's not really a test for. If you're interested in that, just check COVID-19 news on Planet Waves. Okay, Courtney is working in the kitchen in the background. Hi, Courtney. Thank you. All right, so the emphasis came off of Capricorn for a while, but we are left with Pluto in Capricorn, and we're left with something else, which is the square of Pluto and Eris in Capricorn. So I don't have that drawn into this chart yet, but I'm going to do that right now so we can see what's going on here. So hold on a second while I use my high-tech graphics program known as a Sharpie and draw this in so you can see what's going on. And the Eris and Pluto are the two slowest moving planets used by astrology, there are slower ones, which most people don't use, like Sedna, a few others. But pretty much Pluto and Eris, in terms of what most astrologers are aware of, those are the slowest ones. Eris has a orbit of 558 years, and Pluto has an orbit of 248 years. And so they take a while, and as you can imagine, things that go that slowly, that orbit that slowly, that take centuries, and Pluto 2.5 centuries in the case of Eris, 5.5 centuries to go around the sun once, don't get together and form an aspect that often. It's probably outside the scope of the software I use to even find like when the conjunctions take place. All right, so the way, first of all, that the Pluto-Eris square looks is that here's Eris in Aries. Well, move that up closer. And then here's Pluto down in Capricorn. And they are making a 90-degree aspect that was exact for all of 2020 and will be exact for most of 2021. But the thing is, these are threshold aspects, and they have a long period of duration. And once their energy pattern is established, it doesn't give up for a while, and sometimes can be kind of a permanent feature. And even if we had nothing else going on in 2020, which we didn't, we had a lot of other things going on in 2020, the square of Pluto and Eris would have been more than enough to account for the pure insanity of what happened last year, which essentially amounts to a global fascist takeover of the world disguised as a virus that nobody has a sample of. I mean, that should be a pretty good giveaway. Okay, so meanwhile, the square of Eris and Pluto is happening, and then at the same time that happens, the sun and the moon line up conjunct Pluto and square Eris. So you see a little 23 on the sun and the moon, and then the 23 on Eris. That shows you that it's an exact square. I've drawn the lines in to make it more clear that it's an exact square. And so what we get is a new moon conjunct Pluto and square Eris. And this is basically kind of lighting up the Pluto-Eris square. And it's for a moment as if all that astrology in Aquarius does not really exist. It still does, but the emphasis of the new moon is bringing in the Saturn, the Pluto-Eris square. Okay, so but that's part of the intensity of this chart. There's two other main features that I want to relate to you. One of which is extraordinarily rare, and it's something that is not out of Western astrology. It's something out of Vedic astrology, and it is something that I happen to know about because an astrologer I knew many years ago before she died named Callie Halverson, who used to have a website called Her Star, kind of feminist astrology, basically, and we were good buddies. She lived in San Francisco at the time that I knew her, I think around 2000, pointed out, which is one of the yogas from Vedic astrology. Now, in Western astrology, we know that there are different types of patterns, like a bowl pattern or a bucket pattern or a splay pattern and all that. I don't really talk about that stuff too much. I don't really use those categories. But in Vedic astrology, they have a similar concept called yogas. And the yogas are essentially positions and structures of planetary positions that have certain qualities and certain names. And there are some that are more common and some that are rare, and there are some that are extremely rare. And the one that we have happening now at the time of the new moon and at the time of the presidential inauguration, just 9 days from now, is called Kala Sarpa Yoga. Kala Sarpa Yoga is when all of the planets are grouped to one side of the lunar nodes. And this is quite extraordinary. And it's very hard to have it happen because it has to involve the moon also, and even if you get all the other planets to one side of the lunar node, as you have here, in just a week and a half, it's going to go away when the moon goes around, crosses its north node. All the other planets will be there, but there won't be Kala Sarpa Yoga, and then it will have to wait 2 more weeks, and then it'll come back, and then we'll have it again. So this is going to be a pretty exciting spell, and let's see, when are we talking about? I don't know when the moon goes through mid Gemini, but I'm assuming it's in about let's see, Eris. I'm not going to guess. I didn't look that up yet, but less than 2 weeks, because as of right now, the moon is hanging out in early Capricorn. Let's just get that. And soon I'll be able to share my screen with you. All right, yeah, the moon right now is in early Capricorn, conjunct Venus and conjunct Pholus. We've got quite a chart even right at the moment for this recording. So notice all the planets are swept to one side of the lunar nodes. That is that's a big deal, and it's very challenging, and it happens very, very rarely. And one of the things that it can bestow in a personal natal chart is a drive. It is a sense of total commitment to something, the ability to start something and see it through, and to make any personal sacrifice necessary to have it happen, to stay focused, to stay on point, to stay on task, to stay connected to one's work and one's purpose. There is a condition placed on this, though, and the condition placed on it is that if this power is used for personal drive and personal ambition, which is to say for any purpose that is adharmic, that is to say acting as if to divide the world, not hold the world together, or that is not oriented on genuine service to the planet, the person can suffer a severe downfall and basically lose everything. And so this is a power that has to be used judiciously, has to be used fully consciously, and is best not used for some self-serving purpose. Now, we know very little else in the world other than things that are purely self-serving, and those things that are purely self-serving are often packaged as some form of do-gooding, right? This is the the regional directors of the Red Cross, who each personally make $450,000 salary packages, each personally. This kind of so-called charity is just completely nuts, and the all kinds of abuses of public office, all kinds of abuses of many things public, particularly with Capricorn in it, but wherever this thing takes place, humans tend to abuse power. There's very few humans who have, particularly here in the Kala Yuga, here in these kind of end-timey times where there's so much crumbling of reality, aided and abetted by Pluto going through Capricorn, which has not left much of the infrastructure of society. That includes that loss of structure and of structural integrity includes many losses of personal integrity. And so we live in corrupt times right now, but we also live in times of personal corruption. Not every person is personally corrupt, but a great many people are personally corrupt. It is not easy to find people who are not in some way personally corrupt. And the thing about corruption is that it usually involves some form of defrauding people, and defrauding people is a self-concealing type of crime or offense. And so because it's self-concealing, it takes time to figure out what's going on. People don't usually announce that they're committing fraud of some kind. What would be the point? And so we've got actual trouble here in River City, and we tend to blame politicians for being corrupt. We tend to blame corporations and governments for being corrupt without looking at where this is coming from on the ground in human society. We just don't tend to look at where this is coming from on the ground. And I believe that almost everything we experience comes from the ground up, not from the top down. In many ways, it's ridiculous to blame our leaders for their bad behavior when people don't hold them to account. So this is part of the dodgy times in which we live. And as you may know, much of my journalism career, going back to age 19, has involved corporate and scientific fraud. And as I got deeper into that work, I learned that one of the most important principles of fraud is that you become responsible for fraud the fraud that someone else is committing against you, the moment you have sufficient information to put together that fraud was happening. And so there are people who will figure it out and then just let it keep on going. There are people who actively participate in their own, in being robbed, basically themselves for whatever reason. They don't want to stand up to power. They are inarticulate. They're afraid. They lack the gumption or the motivation. There's a lot of reasons people do this, but it became a sad realization to make that fraud has two parts. It has the part of the liar, and it has the part of the person who believes the lie. And those who believe the lie really facilitate this and make it happen. They would not be possible without them. And right now, all of us, every last one of us is on notice that there is a problem that we have to be addressing. The problem involves government, involves companies, it involves what's being done to us now. It involves a great many things, but we have the knowledge. And the important thing to remember is when you have the knowledge, when you have the elements, it's your responsibility to put them together. Otherwise, you are negligently and even intentionally committing the same act that's being committed against you. And so now that we know what's going on, it's up to us to stand up to it. Otherwise, the karma is on us. So now the good part of Kala Sarpa Yoga is that when you are motivated by Dharma, when you are motivated by acting as if to hold the world together, when you are motivated by love and the pursuit of truth and the protection of your community, even the protection of your family, heck, even the protection of your own personal integrity, you are going to ride the high side of this yoga and will be able to harness this power to get things done. And it's very important that you be able to have a source of strength to get things done, particularly in the time in which we are living, which is designed to create total despair. This is the effort that is being made to wear all of us down till we have nothing left, to divide us from our families, to divide us from our ability to even eat food together, to eat socially, to work socially, to do anything socially. This whole movement that's been taking place since March is all about dividing people, and it's all about making the internet the only place where human contact is available. And while this is lovely, it's sometimes hard for me to even imagine that I have the ability to come into your home and speak to you, and or be watching me on your iPhone on the beach in the Bahamas or wherever it might be, Costa Rica or something. This is not really human contact. If you have some skill, you can convey good vibes and be more present and so forth. But this is not the same thing as sitting in the same room. And we need to be together. And this is one of the things that is being taken from us. And it's a very serious thing. And it is up to us to resist this. And it is necessary that we have some strength and power to tap into. Now, the conjunction to Pluto grants a kind of a soul power. Soul, soul power, which is the ability to use our opportunities for the purpose of learning and for the purpose of growth and for the purpose of building the world rather than tearing the world down. That is very helpful. Pluto grants the ability to focus one's energy in a way similar to Kala Sarpa Yoga, and it's I have to view it as being beneficial that this is happening all at the same time in the middle of this very sensitive moment in world history. There's one other point I'm going to get into. I am losing the light here. Is that there is another major aspect going on, which is that Neptune is square the lunar nodes pretty much exactly. Let me draw that in to show you what that looks like. Using my super high-tech Sharpie graphics system. What's life like without Sharpies? When all you had were flare pens that would wear out in 5 minutes. Okay, so here's Neptune. Neptune's at 1844 Pisces. The nodes are at 19, currently 19, and they will be at the new moon, 19 and 39 Pisces. Gemini, Sagittarius. The nodes are very powerful right now. The north node is in the sign of exaltation, Gemini, and the south node is in its sign of exaltation, which is Sagittarius. Yes, the nodes have a form of rulership of signs. It's not really rulership. It's the next best thing. It's called exaltation. And Neptune, along the same theory, is quite powerful in Pisces, right? Neptune is not the ruler of Pisces. Neptune wasn't around when the rulership system was created, but pretty much for most astrologers and most people who know some astrology, Neptune is the modern ruling planet of Pisces. Certainly it has a kind of exalted position. And Neptune is square the nodes. Now, one thing I learned in my early astrology studies from reading works by Barbara Hand Clow is that when something is square the nodes, think of it as being right on the nodes. And the thing that Neptune in Pisces is addressing is our essentially delusional approach to life and living by denial. It seems like stupidity. It seems like insanity, and certainly Neptune can bestow a kind of insanity. Neptune handles all those tricky things like denial, deception, drinking, drugs, delusion, deception, debauchery, and all those D words. That can seem like stupidity, and it is in the sense of being in a stupor. And quite a few people are in a stupor right now. They are walking around as if they are high or like drugged out of consciousness. And in fact, quite a few people are drugged out of their full consciousness, whether it's by too much sugar or unnecessary psych meds or other kinds of substances that affect their ability to call themselves fully present for their lives of a very large number of people. Digital is another one of those D words that should get lumped along with drink, denial, deception, delusion, and all this stuff as well, because digital for many people serves as a form of narcotic. It's a way to go to sleep. It's a way to fall asleep. And there's a lot of people asleep at the digital wheel. And so Neptune square the nodes is saying we don't get to do anything that the nodes offer. That is to say, to process karma, to make progress, to move without first dealing with Neptune first. And so that is to say, if we want to grow, we've got to deal with the denial, the delusion, the deception, the drinking, the drugs, the digital, the dopiness, and all this D stuff. And it's hard because Neptune presents a factor of the invisible environment. It is not that easy to spot what's going on when Neptune is in the picture. And so Neptune is like, the closest I can come to describing what Neptune is evocative of is the kingdom is under a spell. Under a spell. It is under a spell when people no longer care what is true, when the thing that makes you the most afraid is the thing that's true. That's the assumption. That's a really, really, really bad assumption to make, because the thing that makes you the most afraid may not be even vaguely true, but your state of fear makes you subject to being manipulated. And I have seen that people, particularly Americans, I think whom I know the best, I haven't lived in other societies long enough to figure out this one thing, but Americans have a really hard time knowing when they're being lied to, and Americans have a really hard time of knowing when they're being manipulated by their own fear. By the way, very similar things going on in the UK. The United States and the UK have a special relationship since we were one country. We were one country at one point, and we've kind of gone back to being one country because they too are under this completely insane, draconian, ridiculous lockdown when it has been proven by a study of 9.5 million people that there is no asymptomatic spread. There's not. And as we know from many, 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 many previous discussions, the polymerase chain reaction is a total lie. It is a mirage of digital. And so we are living in the midst of this huge, huge lie. And if you look up, quote, the big lie, you'll see where that term comes from. And if you look up the idea that if you say a lie over and over and over and over and over and over again enough times, people will assume that it's true. And it's not. No matter how many times you repeat the lie, does not make it true. And if you believe it, it does not make it true. So let's deal with that Neptune square the nodes. And remember that we have this extraordinary power of Kala Sarpa Yoga to work with right now. In my next discussion, in a YouTube video, we'll talk about the inauguration chart. We'll get to that sooner than we've delayed this one. I just was not feeling up to it after doing 18 hours of audio. Like, I just didn't want to get in front of the camera, but feeling good about it today. And I reckon that I'll be back soon to talk about the inauguration, the United States Pluto return, and those two things mainly. All right, thanks for tuning in. Look for me at planetwaves.net. Planet Waves FM goes up every Friday night at about 9, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to Planet Waves as a core community member. All the funding for all the incredible things we do and the beautiful staff that I have working with me comes from nothing other than subscription dollars and sale of readings, and they are all worth it. To that point, I assume you value your time more than your money, and I would never want to waste your time. Okay, lots of love. Thanks for tuning in, and bye for now.